Firing of head coach Sean McDermott. They have conducting a wide-ranging head coaching search, talking to some of the top coaching prospects, including several of the hot young offensive coordinator names. And what they did was hire someone in their backyard, Joe Brady, the coaching candidate for several teams around the NFL. But my understanding is the reason he got hired by the Buffalo Bills is because of his CEO approach, a top-down approach for the Bills, and because of the way he sees the coaching staff blending with the personnel department. He is a leader. They believe it will be a shot in the arm. And the hope is that this is the hire that will take them over the top in a way that Sean McDermott was not able to do in Buffalo. Joe Brady, the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills.
That's exactly right, Rap Sheet. So the Bills' offense since 2024, it's elite, but they haven't gotten over the hump the way that Western New York expects them to. Joe Brady now becomes the 21st head coach in Bills franchise history. They have fallen short of their quest time and time again in January, this being under Sean McDermott. So a familiar face now takes over in Joe Brady. Kyle, he's learned from some of the best along the way in his NFL coaching career, like a Sean Payton, like a Sean McDermott. We have heard his name a lot, and now he will wear that headset with that logo on, Kyle, for a couple years. And now he's coaching up Josh Allen in this offense.
Yeah, and he better do it well. This is a big pressure spot to be in. I'm a big fan of his. I like his background. I like his makeup. I like all of this. Remember, it's important to understand the origin story. So a few years back, Josh Allen's offensive coordinator under Sean McDermott is Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey, a tenured guy, been around, respected guy. They weren't playing well. He wasn't playing at his best. They let go of Dorsey. He's gone. They bring in Joe Brady, and things really, you are under the generational pressure of you must deliver a Super Bowl to Buffalo. You must harness Josh Allen. This wasn't Sean McDermott when he got puppy Josh Allen and with the Labrador with the big paws. This is prime. You got a few years to do this thing, Joe, and you've never been a head coach. It's a lot of pressure. You better cash the sucker in. And you're joining a very interesting division, too. You got, obviously, Mike Vrabel, who's going to be the big man on campus, so to speak, and who is tenured and not intimidated and just ready to roll. You got Aaron Glenn. I don't know what you're getting from that. And then you got this Jeff Hafley down in Miami, who is not taking any prisoners, and he's got rhetoric and he's got plans. I listened to him on Schrager's podcast, and he's like, we're going to be tough. We're going to hit. I was like, all right, this AFC East is going to be fun. I like this guy. I really do mean this. You guys know, I don't say this about everybody. There's some hires this year that I don't like. I like this hire. It's Manti, you and I have talked about this before, about young Michael Jordan. And young Michael Jordan, for those who don't remember, Phil Jackson wasn't always his coach. He had Doug Collins for years, and he was a superstar, and he was amazing, and they couldn't get over the hump. What do? They turned to Doug Collins' bench. His assistant coach is this guy with this mustache and these glasses who turns out to be the Zen master, and he gets promoted to the job and becomes Phil Jackson. They go to Sean McDermott's bench when Sean McDermott can't win the Super Bowl. They pick out this young guy who's got ideas and gels with the quarterback. Let's see. Other people are saying, oh, yeah, I'm sure Joe Brady's going to be Phil Jackson. Good luck with that. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying one Super Bowl is his minimum obligation with this job, and anything else is a failure. That's a lot. I think he might be up to it.
Yeah, so basically, KB, it's TBD, and we're hoping that it's sooner than later. Now, let's talk about who Joe Brady is. You know, to Jamie's point, I was with Joe Brady when he was Harry. It's strategy. It's not the other way around. We can point to certain teams that have that priority flipped. It's like trying to build a house and you have an award-winning interior designer, but your general contractor's from Craigslist. Like, your kitchen's gonna look amazing until that roof caves in. And that's the only thing that I'm hoping, that when this beautiful kitchen and the living room, when you walk into that thing and it smells nice and it looks nice, I'm waiting to see if Joe has the foundation and the type of framework that is needed to be a head coach. That is the biggest thing. That's the biggest question. That's the biggest TBD. From what I know of Joe Brady, he means what he says what he means, and whatever he tells you, he's going to fulfill. And that is the first step into becoming a leader in front of 53, 63, however many now they have in that team room that they're going to have over there in Buffalo. That's how you take control, and that's how you get the respect of those men. So, brilliant play caller, the leadership part of it, TBD, Rashad.
Absolutely. And I give an experience when I was with the Giants, right? When I was with the Giants, they let go of Coach Tomlin. Tom Coughlin, excuse me. My names are all over the place. Legendary coach with the Giants. And there was a question of who do we bring in now, right?
Yeah.
And we brought in the offensive coordinator who was already in the building.
Elevated Ben McAdoo.
Ben McAdoo
Right.
to the head coaching position. Ben McAdoo had served as the offensive coordinator for 2 years with the Giants at that time with Eli. And bringing in Odell, and he understood the play calling. He understood the culture. He understood what they wanted to bring forward. And so instead of searching for a head coach, they just elevated it, like you said, Jamie. And the reason why is because his connection with Eli was great. And I think the same thing when you let go of Sean McDermott, you're trying to figure out who do we replace this guy who's kind of like restructured the franchise. Well, let's just stay in-house. And that's what they've done with Joe Brady. I think he's somebody he can lean on. And we've seen, too, as a good hire. Not only is that, but we also, as athletes and anybody in any company, we can sniff out what's really going on behind the scenes. And I think what's going on behind the scenes is you got a great offensive mind, and they're going to be the makeup of the offense, and they're going to fill in the spots on the defense. So I like the hire. I think it can work.
To play devil's advocate, though, and to push back on something Rap Sheet said in his report, which is they like Joe Brady because of his CEO style. But, Rashad, what you're saying is they elevate Ben McAdoo back in the day because he's got this great connection to Eli. Josh Allen is an MVP quarterback. He is clearly the most important part of your wheel. But there's also 52 other men that you have to coach up too. So do you want the CEO type or do you want the best friend of the quarterback? And how do you manage like a guy coming into the building and being a leader of the rest of the men, because it can't just be a Josh Allen thing. We've seen them try to just put the team and the run to the playoffs on the shoulders of Josh Allen, and it falls flat. So he has to be able to coach up the rest of this. How does it go, though, for a Ben McAdoo, for a Joe Brady, that you got to be able to coach up the other parts of the building?
You do. You have to have the voice, and that's the biggest thing, talking about leadership to a head coach position. The main thing for you is to carry the voice and attention of 53 different attitudes and temperaments in that building. If you can do that, you can lead a football team, and I think that he has the ability to do that. And part of that, as a franchise, as a unit, as a team, we all understand with Josh Allen, we go and not go.
In this opening segment of GMFB, would you look at that? Moving on our show, we're going to hear from a new for what we should be discussing and aligning here on our NFL-centric show. And while we may or may not show the headlines, we do have to discuss it and address it. We start this morning with Patriots-adjacent news, but not the current version that we know of them in 2026, the team that's going to the Super Bowl. It's about their former coach, Bill Belichick. According to a story from ESPN, the six-time Super Bowl champion head coach will not be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Select did not receive the necessary 40 votes from the 50-person panel of media members and other Hall of Famers. The panel is compiled of a member of the media market of all 32 teams, plus at-large members. ESPN said Belichick received a call from the Hall of Fame last Friday with this news. The Hall of Fame out of Canton, Ohio, has declined to comment before its class of 2026 announcement, which will take place at NFL Honors in San Francisco on February 5th. With all of this information in our pockets, Kyle Brandt, I start with you on your thoughts on the matter.
Well, my thoughts on the matter are, for fans, really the lifeblood of the Pro Football Hall of Fame are Hall of Fame debates. Hall of Fame arguments, debates, in a bar, on the couch, on a show. That's what they're about. But this is not a debate. This is not Torrey Holt. This is not Frank Gore. This is Bill Belichick, who has been to more Super Bowls than any coach in history, who has won more Super Bowls than any coach in history. Even amongst his coaching peers, Bill Belichick, due respect, is not Tom Flores, is not Mike Shanahan, is not Dan Reeves. This is Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's influence is still being felt to this day, up to and including this Super Bowl, where Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel are representing the Patriots and leading the Patriots team. They weren't just all, this is nuts, why was he not in on the first? There was a lot of Bill Belichick got what he deserved. Bill Belichick did this, Bill Belichick did that. Bill Belichick had many controversies, and I think Bill Belichick made many enemies. Should that matter, especially the second one, in light of all his accomplishments? No, I don't think so. Because if it was a bubble guy who, you can go either way on this, certain things come home and they affect the voting. This is Bill Belichick. He has had multiple Hall of Fame careers strung together. If you were to wipe out the entire back half of his Super Bowl run with the Patriots, just wipe it out like it didn't, he's still a Hall of Fame coach. So I feel like many people in that, how did this happen? I'm looking forward to hearing from him at some point. And if there's any silver linings to this at all, when he eventually does get in, it is all hands on deck for the speech, and I can't wait.
Yeah. And Kyle, it's a matter of, we all understand, it's a matter of when, not if. And, I understand it where it's a lot of, hey, why isn't this? Why isn't that? But nothing is going to change the fact of his accomplishments in the NFL. Nothing takes away the hard wire. Nothing takes away the impact and the ripple effect that he's had on the National Football League, what he was able to do with Mr. Kraft and build a franchise that is now what we see back in the arsenal now, competing for another ring. And so his impact will always be felt. And that's the most important thing. That's what the induction of the Hall of Fame is all about, and I think that still will remain, as any and everybody who knows him and has participated as being a fan of the game. So when that day happens, I'm sure we will all corral, but I'm like you. I think the interview, he will give a little bit more oomph to the interview than what we're used to when he was a Patriot.
Yeah, it's gonna be something that everybody's looking forward to. I think, to KB's point, he has all the credentials needed to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I go back to what Jamie said in the intro, where it says, will not be inducted into the Hall of Fame yet.
Yeah.
Yet, right? We know that this man is going to get in there. And I think silver lining, glass half full kind of perspective introduced on broadcast, where he makes appearances at panels, makes a keynote speech. It's going to be Super Bowl winning Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick. There's not going to be an asterisk by it. I think whether people consider a first ballot or not, we all know that the man is one of the best, if not the best, coaches to ever have a headset on. And so we can't wait for the day that coach gets into a Hall of Fame. It's just not happening yet.
There's something to be said for, as you mentioned, Manti, those who get in, and then there's the first ballot guys. And then I think there's actually a next echelon, which is the guys that you just label as Hall of Famers before their career's even done. And he was that guy, actually, when he was still coaching. So, as we mentioned, it's obviously a hot topic of conversation in the NFL, as is the current coaching cycle. Now, Belichick had the best of the NFL for a lot of years that he coached. He had the best of the conference, best of his division. And then the Buffalo Bills rose from the ashes, and they had their time in the AFC East, but now they're looking for a new head coach. Our NFL Network insider, Ian Rappaport, has an update from Western New York and a decision that the Bills have made about that job posting.
Did the Buffalo Bills surprise